All right, pro tips around Imola in the Dallara Formula 3. I set a 1 minute 34.328. Just a quick example lap, nothing spectacular. I do have the world record for the race lap. I'll quickly flick to that. So I got the world record for the race lap there. Practice lap record is a 33.5 by Marcel Fassbender. Insane time. I know if I get the correct weather settings in a server, I can set a 33.9. I think my optimum's like 33.7, 33.8, something like that. But to set a 33.5 is absolutely impossible. I have no idea how Marcel is doing that. But hey, let me flick it back to the race world record because that makes me look good. So let's do that a little bit more. But I just quickly set up a quick test session because I couldn't find a server tonight that had the correct weather. So I just thought, I'm just going to quickly just do it myself. And I got it on my second try. So that saved me probably 2 hours. And I thought it was a good, quick, clean lap. No off tracks, by the way. And the full lap is available at the end of the video. And if you want to watch it now, flick through and then come back to whatever point we're at now in the video and watch the tips. So if that floats your boat, go ahead, my man or my woman. Let's get to it. So there's no real run to begin the lap. You just have to take the racing line through the Rivazza curves, which is what I do almost. The only thing I'd say is, I do it here on this lap, is that I take this wide line to begin the lap, and I think that gains me about 0.02 of a second at most. It does cost you maybe around just under a tenth if you do this instead of hug the wall, because you're taking a longer distance around the racetrack, which is slower. But to begin a lap, it doesn't hurt. You know, so I go and begin this lap. There we go. I go back onto the racing line. Here's the start-finish line. Let's begin the lap. Let's head to the Tamburello. So brake marker through here is around just this point. So you can see there's a change in color in the tarmac around there. And when I see that in the cockpit view, I have a sort of visual reference point as to where I'm going to brake. So if I get to cockpit view, let me get this shit out of the way. And there's that change in tarmac, and that's when I begin to brake. Now, if anybody saw my Road Atlanta tips video of Max Verstappen's lap. Max Verstappen from Red Bull Racing, by the way, Formula 1. For those that don't know, I'd be surprised. And I did this too, but he turned turn 10 at Road Atlanta into one corner, even though it was like 3 corners. So if you think about here, the Tamburello area, I think the Tamburello is this next corner, but I just call this whole section the Tamburello. Who cares? I turn this into one corner. So I brake here, and then I'm on the gas right at this point. You can see the gas trace at the bottom. And from then on in, it's full throttle. I do not back off the throttle at all. So that's one corner, even though this is turns 2, 3, 4. I'm essentially turning it into one corner. So you don't want to be fighting the car or anything, saying it's 2, 3, turning all the time. Turning once on the throttle, use all the curb. You want to be perfect here on this curb. Even if your car doesn't handle these curves properly, you can still do it. And it's the best line through it because it's such a tight corner. So that's what I would do. The only other line I've seen, and I think my line's the best, except the exit here. My car doesn't handle the bumps too well on this setup. I don't have the shocks dialed in as much as I hoped I could. But I don't use this left-hand curb over here. I would use that. I felt like my car bottomed out, so I avoided it. So Villeneuve next. This is a very complex. Slight moment. That's not an off track. All legal. So let's just go through this. I don't have a brake marker. I'm very Graham Carroll at this at this circuit. I just stuff the brake markers. I'm going in here thinking there's a visual reference point when I see that curb begin to open up. I'm in 6th gear, and you'll see me. I'm on the brake around now, and you can't downshift in this car unless you're on the brake, because then you'll blow the engine. if you go from 6th to 5th, over rev it. So there's like a safety lock feature. I don't know. But you go into 5th, and then as soon as I get into 5th, so I'm in 5th now, I'm back on the throttle now. Just for a slight moment, and then I downshift again, and I'm on the brakes. So I'm now back down into 3rd. I've seen some people use 4th into this corner. I think the car just bogs too much. I mean, it's more stable maybe. It's a lot slower. I don't think it's the fastest way around this corner. I've tried it, and now I'm back in a 4th gear. So I went from 5th to 3rd, now into 4th. I'd recommend using this line on the exit. That is not an off-track. If anything, yeah, that's not perfect. You know, you're not going to gain time from doing that, but you're widening the track, and you can carry more speed without getting an off-track and penalizing your lap. So it's pretty good in my case. The only other thing is the curbs. Forgot about the curbs. Do not touch these curbs. Okay, if you touch this first curb, you'll spear off, and if you keep hammering on the throttle, you'll spear off straight into the wall. So when you steer, I'm gonna have to pull my hands away from the mic to do this, or my head away. When I steer like this, don't keep hammering the throttle if you touch the curb. If you touch the curb, straighten up your steering, back off the throttle by just a touch, and lose that 10th. It's better than costing yourself the whole race. And that's sometimes you just accidentally don't nail your line through the corner. So that's fine. Mistakes happen. But then the next corner, I use a slight bit of the curb. But to me, there's two parts to these curbs. I'll draw a separation line here. Part 1 is a little lower and closer to the surface of the tarmac, or the height of the tarmac. Part 2 is a lot higher, so it'll unsettle the car a little bit more. If you use number 1, not ideal, but won't hurt you too much. Just unsettle the car by a touch. I used it on this lap, and you can see the car oscillates just a little bit. I forgot the slow-mo button, but I'll play it through. Oh, geez. Okay, I found the button, but... So watch the car just start to oscillate and bounce. But it's not by much. The tires straight away now, they're touching the tarmac again, and that's perfect. Had I not touched that curb, maybe I wouldn't have been this wide out. End of the day, I mean, I was fast. It was a quick lap. That was a cool spark. So that's it around that corner. I'm going to play through Tosa corner. Brake marker, I don't have one. I use the change in the tarmac color. Now, I go into 5th gear here. Bang, 5th. Now, that's only for a touch. I didn't want to change my setup and extend 4th gear because I felt it hurt me in a few other corners, and it would help. It would hurt to balance in gears from 2 to 7. So I didn't want to lose that sort of great distribution there. So I said, hey, stuff it. I'm just going to go straight into 5th gear. I'm going to brake at the right point. Now, the perfect thing you want to do through this corner, if you think about it, look at the characteristics. Long radius corner. So straight away, I'm thinking, I don't want to be fighting the car through here. I want to turn the wheel once, on the gas, and then that's it. Because if I'm fighting the wheel, I'm going to lose time. And just try it at this corner. Like, go through the corner once as fast as you can with one motion and try and nail it. And then the next time you go through this corner, try and do it while fighting the wheel a little bit. And you'll notice that 99.9% of the time, you're probably going to lose time. Widen the track as well. I reckon I could have got a little bit wider out here. That's going to help me gain maybe 1/100th of a second if I get a little wider there. But I just tried to get a clean lap in here. Now, I've seen 3 lines through the corner. Because it's a little weirdly off-cambered corner, I've seen people go tight entry, late exit, which is the worst thing. I've seen people go really late apex. So wide entry, late apex. I recommend just taking the line I take, which you'll see in a second. I use the camber of the track. I use the angle of the track here perfectly in the braking zone to slow the car down. Gravity is going to slow it down better than it is on the right-hand side of the track here. And I hit that sweet spot in the apex, and I'm on the gas. And watch my wheel trace at the bottom. It's just one motion. Bang. And I remember when I did this lap, I mean, I think I almost went purple here for the week. It was that quick. And that's pretty good. That was probably the best example I have in this lap of any corner. Oh, and Chembalik Bussy talked about that. Can I shout him out for a second? He talked about having a one rule. He teaches it. If you're struggling to be consistent, just practice the one rule, which Chembalik Bussy, as I said, teaches. He says, go through every corner on the racetrack and turn the wheel once, exit once. And that's the best way to learn to be consistent. So credit to Chem on that, F1 esports driver. Piratella. I think that's the best line through there, so we'll talk about that. Again, no brake marker. I just use the visual cue. You'll see the curb here pop up in a second. When the curb begins, that's sort of my visual cue to turn into the corner. I hate brake markers to the right into like a fast left-hander because I'm too distracted looking to the right, about to touch the grass, and I am looking for the apex of the corner. So I want to have my eyes locked on the apex. That's my style. There we go. I begin to see the curb around the nose of the car to the curb here. And that's when I just begin to brake right now. So what's this message at the bottom? Click something? Oh, I must have highlighted that. Anyway, that's that curb I like to use as my reference point. Then got to use this curb on the inside, in my opinion. Don't use the AstroTurf on the right. It's too slow, not enough grip. That's the quickest way through the corner. So what I've seen is people go... There's 3 lines through here that I've seen. My line, which I think is the quickest. Tested it. I've seen some guys go all the way out wide, and then they rejoin, but it's so slippery out there. There is no grip, so you got no chance. And then I've seen guys undecided, and they just go through the middle. But through the middle here, I'll just play it through. Around this mark, just after I leave the curb, around here onwards, or something like that. If you get the bottom of the car stuck here, and my car does, my setup, so I need to improve that for the future, I bottom out and lose a 10th. I start to skirt over the curb. I'm steering left, like I want to turn left, but the car's just going straight, and then it steers dramatically. So if that happens to you, and your setup's not handling the curb there well, just drift out wide. Don't continue to turn left. I would just drift out wide and forget about taking this perfect line, drift out wide onto the AstroTurf and rejoin, because you'll thank me later for that. Shortest route, hug the inside. Acque Minerali. So again here, some drivers like to lift here and they lift and coast, but anytime, to me, I hate lift and coast. You need to be on the throttle or the brake at any one point. So when you go on telemetry, if you have 100% of a lap time and 99.8% of the lap has used both throttle and brake, there's 0.2% of that lap that you could have utilized to be faster. So to me here, I'm on the throttle perfectly, and I'm throwing this car into the corner. I'm not lifting off the throttle into this corner. I'm throwing it in, and now I'm trail braking right there. So you begin to see the red here at the bottom, and that's when I begin to brake, nail the apex. You have to trail brake through that corner. I like to use that curb. Doesn't hurt my car at all. I did have one race, funnily enough, where my right wheels were So my right wheels are here. They were here during the race, and the car just like bottomed out or something. And I was steering right, and I thought my wheel disconnected, and I just went straight on. So I have no idea what happened there. I think the racing gods didn't want me to win. So trail breakthrough there. Now I'm into third gear. Don't want to use second gear. Now it depends on your setup, of course, but most people are going to have similar gearing at this track. Second gear, whilst the engine will sound louder, you're actually carrying less speed. Third gear, while the engine sounds like it's bogging down, I'm still on the brake here. I've been trail braking this whole point. You can see I've been braking and turning. I've just mastered it. No lockup. Just got to master it. Don't touch the curb, which is great. And then watch when I'm on the gas. I'm just going to slow-mo these frames. There we go. I'm on the gas now through the apex. Probably a little later than I hoped for, but I'm in third gear. I keep the speed high. Look at my minimum speed through the corner. 125, I think. Yeah, 125. So stay in third gear. Believe me on that. You'll save a tenth and a half. Maybe 2/10. Now, a trick for off tracks is if you do end up getting an off track here, but you don't want to get a slowdown penalty. So you get an off track, and then you keep on going straight here, and then you end up having to slow down for 2 seconds and let other cars past, is you can drift out wide onto the Astro, but make sure you turn back into the racetrack before this curb starts to curve left. Just try it out. And that's a tactical off-track I've used in races where I needed to gain an extra tenth. And I'm like, you know what? Stuff the safety rating. I'm just going to go wide here, gain a tenth, get closer to the driver in front. And, I mean, you got 17 off-tracks for a reason, you know? Might as well use them. Oh. I like to have my left wheels hug the AstroTurf in the curb here. I love that. I don't like to drift out to the right. Take the shortest route to the braking zone, to the Variante Alta. Now, the most frustrating corner on this racetrack, because it's so inconsistent. I still have no idea why the fuck we're bringing these open-wheel cars that can't take touring car curbs to these tracks. But whatever. I mean, I really hope they could change the curbs for certain cars at certain tracks. Brake marker is just after the 50-meter board. So I'm in fifth gear. Now I'm beginning to brake. I downshift. When you listen to my lap later, I downshift a little late. I was like pressing it, but it just, I don't know, something wasn't working. I'm not sure what was going on in this lap. But you want to go straight into second gear. Now watch my line. There's many lines you can take. And by the way, that's as close as you can get to an off track. Any further to the right, I'm getting a penalty. The more consistent line is you have to always take this first curb, but then you want to have the left wheels on the red part of the second curb, not on the black part. But I just wanted to throw the car into the corner, and I wanted to keep as much speed here, 111 kilometers an hour, as much speed as possible. Cars shaking all over the place. I just have so much rear grip, I'm able to do this. That can gain you 2/10 doing that, 3/10. But the more consistent way, if you don't want to spin, is to have your left wheels not here over this black part, but to have your left wheels through there. And that will get you a smoother, more consistent exit. If anything, sometimes it can be faster, depending on the context of your race. Oh, and if you do need the car to be faster around here, you can set up the shocks to do that, but it may sacrifice speed elsewhere on the racetrack. So that's up to you. I'm going to play it through to the Rivazza curbs. Curves. Those words I always get mixed up with. So straight away, 2 curves. The first curve and the first corner has no exit. Look at that. There is no exit to this corner. But the second corner is the complete opposite. It's like the entries, it's short. It leads from another exit. Like there's no straight preceding it. And then you're into the longest straight ever. So you need to handle these corners a little bit separately. Straight away, I think, okay, I'm going to brake as late as possible just after the 50 board. If anything, I brake a little early here, I think. I do actually brake earlier here. I could have probably broken a little bit later. But I wanted to get a clean lap in. I trail brake into the corner. You can see I'm still on the brake trace. I'm letting go of the pedal, letting the car ride in. Now I've got nothing. So this is bad right now. I could have utilized either a throttle or a brake input at this point. But I felt like I stuffed up the corner, which I did by braking too early. So that's my fault. Probably lost about half a tenth to a tenth. And now I throw the car into the corner, and now I begin to throttle because there's no exit. So you want to carry as much speed there. You're not worrying about taking a late apex and getting a better exit. Now through the final corner. Oh, by the way, yeah, you want to use all the curbs through here. I don't want to forget. 2 wheels on this curb is the best way to do it. I've seen one driver who's very quick have his setup dialed in so he can go all the way out wide here and then rejoin. Doesn't work with my car, and if anything, I think it's slower. There's no grip. I definitely 100% think my line is quicker. Bang. You really want to get a good exit out of here. To begin a lap, to end the lap, set up and overtake everything. Hug the wall for the shortest line, or shortest run to the line. And that's it. Those are my tips around Imola. Can work with most cars, but if you're driving the F3, F3.5, touring car, you know, Reliant Robin, whatever, these tips should help. Maybe not for the Reliant Robin, but for most of these cars. If you have any tips of your own, comment. Share this video if you liked it as well. Give it a like. Subscribe as well for more of these. Definitely going to be more of this content coming out soon. But that's it.